Welcome to the LibertyCon 33 Charity Art Jam.
Yay!
Yay, where the artists have 2 hours to create a piece of art based on the theme they will be given in a few minutes. Thank you, Tiffany, Bryan, and Leia for helping the LibertyCon family raise some money to support our charity Downside Up.
Anytime.
Downside Up is a parent-directed nonprofit providing support, education, and encouragement for parents, families, and others who love and care about people with Down syndrome. They connect children with the resources they need to grow and thrive. They inspire community acceptance by sharing with others the presence and potential of people with Down syndrome. And they welcome every new family into our own, meeting them exactly where they are on this wild ride. And I really like their motto, happy is happy from every which way. Hey guys, please introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Leia Powell. I'm a master stained glass artisan. I've been doing stained glass for about 24 years now. And I'm just excited to be here.
I'm Tiffany Toland. Sorry you can't see me. I'm the Artist Guest of Honor this year. I'm an illustrator and teacher, and I've been going to LibertyCon for a few years now, and I'm honored to be the Artist Guest of Honor this year.
And my name is Bryan Jones, and I'm a chainmail artist and a digital artist. I've been doing chainmail for about 35 years now.
Awesome.
What about you? Who are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm Ann Robards. I have the privilege of not just being on the LibertyCon board of directors, but actually heading up the art show, which is my love and pride and joy.
As it should be. It's wonderful.
And I get to meet cool people like these three, and I get to surround myself with cool pieces of art for an entire weekend. Well, you guys ready for what we've come up for a theme?
We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Our theme this year is aliens are among us from whatever planet, realm, or dimension they are from. What would they have observed during this past year of the coronavirus here on Earth? Kind of an aliens versus coronavirus.
Okay.
Okay.
We were thinking of the standard kind of sci-fi aliens, but also when you think about coming from different realms, that includes fairies and elves and all those creatures too.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay. So I'm going to try to tilt this down to where you can see my light box. Does that work? Okay, so when is the clock ticking? Is the clock ticking now?
Clock is ticking.
All right.
And was there an added item or not?
No added item. I decided that was a bit much.
Okay. Kind of hard to have everybody have the same added item. Okay, so I'm gonna do some moving around here myself.
Hopefully that stays there.
Aliens.
So, Wayne, what made you think of this business?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So, what made you think of this?
Well, it's what we've been dealing with all year.
That's
The
true.
coronavirus looks kind of cool.
It does, indeed.
And I know both you and Tiffany, I think even Bryan, you've done a few ferries and stuff like that too. So
So, what's the prompt?
couldn't hear you, Tiffany.
What's the prompt?
It's kind of the aliens among us kind of thing. And realizing, alien is just different from human. So that would include the fair folk. And, they're popping in and out and visiting us, whether we know it or not. What would they see, experience, or how would they cope with the current coronavirus issue that we Earthlings are facing?
Okay. I have little people, but we're going to call them fairies.
I want to make sure I got this right. So we're painting or making what they see, right?
Say that again, Tiffany. What'd you say?
What they see, right?
Didn't quite catch the key word there.
Yeah, I still didn't understand you. I'm sorry.
Um, Let me see if I can type it then.
So I'm going to make a box, a coronavirus box, with 2 socially distanced fairies on the lid. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Of course, it's going to have 13 sides because that's just the way it works.
One of the neat things about doing it this way is being able to feature for the charity auction pieces of art that are, non-traditional and not easily portable items, such as stained glass and Bryan's cool metal work.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
We also have a lot more stuff available to us that we wouldn't if we had to bring everything to the convention.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
That's true. Normally we provide all the stuff, which is our stock, of course, is limited to uh, pencils, paints,
Right.
typical 2D stuff. I always enjoy watching how you guys develop what you're doing.
So, I don't know if this is making a whole lot of sense, but so this is the lid of the box, right? And there's going to be a 6-foot and an arrow pointing in each direction. There'll be one the same size on this side, and the fairies are going to be sitting here. And then the lid will actually lift up, with them on top, and it'll actually be a box.
Cool.
So that's the plan anyway.
That's the plan, right?
That's the plan. One thing about it though, the lid is going to be, since it's going to be a circle that looks like, and I'm going to put little thingies on like the edges that look like the little spikes from the virus,
Well, what I'm thinking is a necklace.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which are always fabulous.
You guys feel free to talk about what you're doing.
I'm about to pick out glass. This is the fun part.
Uh-oh, this is going to be the noisy. No, this isn't the noisy part yet.
Noisy part, yeah.
I'm afraid no one can hear me anyway.
Oh,
Here.
well, you know, I know both Tiffany and Lee have done videos on their techniques and what they're working on. Bryan, have you done something similar to that, or?
No, I haven't done any videos.
Maybe you should.
You know, because there's so much out there anyway.
Tiffany and Leah share theirs on Facebook amongst other venues, I guess. No,
I should do that more often. I guess, or I should do that. I mean, it's a great way to promote yourself.
yeah, and it promotes your art and hopefully gets people interested in it.
Although primarily what I'm doing now is because I have to make every single one of these rings by hand. I coil the wire and then I make the rings. And then what I'm doing now is just weaving them together to get a base piece. And then I'll embellish it to create my alien out of it.
Hey, Bryan, what kind of wire are you using?
This is 17 gauge aluminum welding wire. And I buy it in 1 pound spools, and I spool it up myself and cut it myself.
Oh. So then you cut it, and then you bend the wire around to form the little circles there?
Yeah, I have a rod that has a little hole right here, and then I use a drill to make the coils, and then I have a high speed saw cutter to cut the rings, and I can cut it in 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, 5/16, 1/2 inch. I have all kinds of different size mandrels so that I can make all kinds of different size rings depending on, you know, what I'm working on. Plus I've bought all kinds of different size rings. I have these little 3mm rings, 4mm rings. I've made these really small earrings. It's called micro mail.
Wow, it's tiny. So you work with tiny.
That's using
Large.
2.5mm rings. So the inside diameter is 2.5mm. So it takes a little bit, and I have to wear magnifying glasses too. Well, it just helps. It helps, you know, making sure I get the rings nicely closed, because they're not soldered. It's called butted mail. So the rings, the ends, the cut ends are just butted together.
And Lee, it looks like you come up with a drawing, and then you do like a pattern, then you use the light box to put it on the glass.
Yeah, I can't see through this blue iridescent glass, and it's mottled. You see like all the kind of dotty kind of things going on, but if I can't see through the iridescent part, so I have a different plug for my light box up above me, and I'm patterning through the glass so I don't have to actually cut the pattern out. And So what I'm doing now is this is going to be one of the fairy's wings. So when she's built her wings, there will be, you know, this is one wing and there will be another one on the other side. So then I'll have to flip the pattern over and do the other side to make sure that both sides of the fairy are iridescent, because this is going to be a box, you know, you never know like what side people are going to be coming at it with, you know.
Right.
So I'm going to make one of them have like this real pretty cobalt mottled iridescent blue, and then I have an aqua iridescent blue for the other fairy, just to give them their own kind of personality, even though the castings are the same. So you know, once you have drawn your pattern and you've chosen your glass, that's when you actually have to pattern your glass. So that's what I'm doing now. And the thing about it is, especially with me, once I get kind of something stuck in my head, you know, if you looked at this pattern, you probably wouldn't think it was going to be a box, but it's going to be a box. So, you know, it's just a matter of me knowing, you know, what I need to cut. These sides are actually going to be probably about 2 to 3 inches tall. And because the top is a circle, it's actually, they're going to stand up, and I'll have panels to make it into a circle.
Oh,
So
awesome.
that's that plan anyway. And also, these fairy wings are going to look different. They're not going to be identical patterns. One thing that you have to kind of pay attention to when you're patterning glass that has a texture or a pattern to it is you have to make sure that you go with the grain of the glass. And my Sharpie's dying on me.
Uh-oh.
I have many. It's okay. You know, that way they kind of look similar whenever they're actually cut out. Yeah. Hey Brian, have you ever rings around with a drill?
Say that again.
Have you ever made your rings with like a drill and like maybe like galvanized fencing wire or anything like that?
When I first started, I used galvanized electric fence wire,
Yeah.
and
The only time I've ever done chainmail, that's what I used.
yeah, I started off with a hand crank.
Yeah.
And then
That's I'm sorry.
I went to a drill, and I still use a drill to wind the coils.
Well, that's good. I bet your hands like you a whole lot more now doing that.
What's that?
I bet your hands thank you for that.
Oh, sure. The I had a judge at a show once go, "You're gonna get carpal tunnel doing that." I'm like, "Yeah, maybe."
It's expected.
Well, I've probably woven 3 or 4 miles worth of wire or
No,
more.
at least I'm sure.
Tiffany, what medium are you working with tonight?
Oil paint.
Oh.
That's gonna take a little while to dry. Do you have like a special way that that you make it dry faster?
Only takes about 2 days, maybe.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh,
You got to use this kind of stuff
what's
dries
a gel?
instead of like seed oil or stuff like that. That stuff takes forever, but this stuff dries in like 48 hours.
Oh, that's cool.
Solvent-free gel. Yeah. My mom, she painted with oil paints, and they did back in the day, and that took forever to dry.
Yeah, they used to be really toxic too.
Now, the house smelled like oil paint and turpentine.
Yeah, you don't even use turpentine anymore. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that do, but you don't have to.
So what do you use instead of the turpentine?
Just the solvent-free gel.
Okay.
And they make a mineral spirit product that I clean my brushes with. No, that's not gonna.
You live by a railroad track, if I remember right.
Do what?
You live by a railroad track. Is that
Do
right?
I? Oh no, I don't. I turned the power back on, so my air conditioner came back on. That's
Oh.
probably what it is. I'd never get any sleep if I lived by a railroad track.
I don't
That's
know
not.
why I was thinking that.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, that and my printer probably came on, and all kinds of noises probably happened. I'm so
Okay.
I'm so desensitized to it. I don't even hear it anymore.
It's funny that you do. My sister used to live by railroad tracks, and
Yeah.
after a couple of weeks, she never heard them.
Yeah, I mean, you just get used to it. Okay. I'm almost done patterning. I'm getting there very slowly. This is very coronavirus-y, don't you think?
Kinda.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Don't you think like red and purple and junk like that? Because that's usually the stain that they use on their slides and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's kind of a reddish hue is always how I've seen it depicted.
Yeah. So I've just got this crazy piece of glass that's got just tons and tons of different colors in it. So I'm just gonna use that for the base of the box. Why not? This stuff is really hard to cut too, so I may embarrass myself when I try to cut it. Now I get noisy. All right, so this is called a Morton Grid. It is kind of like what you see up in the ceilings of elevators, but it's got a solid bottom on it. And when you cut glass on top of it, the shards fall down in it so that they don't, you know, get underneath your glass and scratch you up. FYI. When you cut glass, you have to use cutter oil just to keep your tungsten carbide wheel going the way that you need it to. And cutting glass is basically scratching glass and running the score just like you would on tile. Everybody's so quiet. Guess you're concentrating, right? Here's my 6 and my arrows.
Bryan, when you do a piece of jewelry like what you're working on now, do you sketch it out or do you just have it in your head how you want it to come out?
I think it's pretty much just in my head. I've sketched some pieces out, but because this is just like weaving like crochet or something, you know, there is a general pattern to everything, and once I have an idea, I like to keep it symmetrical, of course, most of the time. So everything will be even on both sides, and then once I get the base, like I said, once I get the base laid out, then I can start figuring out how to change it or add to it. Because I use chain, I use beads and stuff like that to embellish.
Okay.
Most of the work is getting the base chainmail done. And most of the time I close all my rings with my fingers.
When you work with your fingers that way, closing stuff up, do you ever pinch yourself?
I don't pinch myself, but if I break a nail, I'm really upset.
Nope.
Well, the reason is I keep my thumbnails. I keep my thumbnails long because
Uh-huh.
those are my tools. I mean, that's what I use to close the rings. So my other than my other nails, my thumbnails will always be, like an eighth of an inch longer. And thank goodness they're really hard. But if I hit it in a doorway and break off the end of it, especially if I have a show or something I'm about to do,
Uh, that
it
could
is
really
very,
get in the way of your creativity.
it's very, very upsetting.
That, Tiffany, do you sketch out or draw out your paintings ahead of time, or do you kind of have it in your head like like I'm assuming you're doing right now?
Normally I sketch first, but for this, I'm just going paint first.
You know,
I
art.
will practice pieces, where I just jump in with paint and I don't do any sketches first. So
That's a really nice looking. That's really cool.
I'm looking at one of these so I can, because I also write down the color palette that I used when I did it. So I'm looking at one of these so I know what colors I used last time I painted in water like this.
It's like a painter's journal.
Yeah, kind of. It helps too, because if you have to recreate something later, then you know what colors you use.
Mm-hmm. Leah, did you just score that on both sides?
The glass? No, when I got down toward the end of the glass, I turned it around so that my L square would line up on the straight edge.
Okay.
This glass is tremendously bumpy on the textured side. I would never be able to cut it on that side. Oh, I'm bleeding. Yay. It's not one of my pieces if I don't have some DNA on it somewhere. It's the way it works.
That's a tribute to the art deities.
That's right. One piece left. See what I mean by glass flying in? I did apologize in advance about all the noise, right?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry. Okay. If you thought that was noisy, just wait, because I got to grind now. Okay, I'm going to move you. Okay. A grinder, in case you want to know, is a water reservoir machine that has a diamond pivoted bit on it that spins around in a circle. And you use it to grind the edges of your glass to rough it up for the copper foil. You want to mute me?
Or can you tilt the camera down a little bit so we can actually see the grinding? There. Thank you.
Do you want to mute me? You can if you need to.
Yeah.
Leah, those are some pretty small pieces you were grinding.
Yeah.
Do you ever grind your fingers accidentally or?
All the time. It won't hurt you. It'll grind your fingers off, your fingernails off. If you need a manicure, just come down to the shop, okay?
All right.
It'll grind. My zinc saw is another thing entirely. It will too. So this is copper foil tape. It's clearly copper, and it's sticky on the back. And you can have either black backed foil or copper backed foil or silver backed foil. And the reason for that is if you are gonna patina your solder lines, then and you have clear glass, you know, you don't want to see some shiny silver there. Or some like if you are going to black patina, you don't want to see, like, look at the glass and be distracted by the interior of it being silver or copper. So I'm going to use silver backed foil on the pieces that I can see through. I also need to go get a band-aid. It was bound to happen.
Ah,
See?
yes, that would be an occupational hazard with what you do.
Yeah, Martin comes down here sometimes and I'll have blood running down the back of my arm and not even realize it. It's just what happens. One of my favorite customers sent me 1,000 Band-Aids from the American Red Cross. I haven't went through all of them yet. So thank you, Tina, for that. Okay. So we have to wrap every individual piece of glass in copper foil before we can solder it together. And have you ever done stained glass?
No, I have not.
You know, you only live like 3 hours away, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You should come hang out one day. You can play in the glass and get all sparkly.
Yeah, and I would wind up being Anne of 1,000 cuts.
It's kind of the way it works. Oh my goodness. Me and this Band-Aid are going to fight. This is not a good time.
Imagine it's hard to feel what you're working with through the Band-Aid.
Exactly. This is kind of, you know, my Bryan's thumbnail. When you're grinding, a lot of times you don't see like little slices that are just from cutting to where the glass broke kind of funny in an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, it's in your finger. So it's kind of the way it works. Bryan was in my unconventional art mediums panel, the last Jordan Con. So it's nice to be able to watch him work as much as I can working on glass.
Now, are you going to Jordan Con?
Not Jordan Con, Liberty Con. Oh my gosh.
Liberty
I'm
Con. I
not
was
going
gonna
to
say,
Jordan.
what?
I'm not. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, y'all. I'm telling you what. Yesterday I did a video for Jordan Con, and now I'm just confused. So, Liberty Con, that was a big faux pas, wasn't it, Ann? Bryan was in the Unconventional Art Mediums panel at LibertyCon last 2019. He had a lot to say. That's one thing about this kind of stuff. You know, it's kind of hard for us to do our work there at the convention. So, you know, this kind of stuff is nice to be able to do these workshop videos and art jams and that kind of thing. To be able to kind of show off the work behind it anyway. So you
Well,
see
that's why I like doing the workshops at the convention. You know, bring people in, they can learn how to make it, how I make it.
yeah. It's often unconventional art mediums are kind of a labor of love to where, you know, your materials are so expensive. Not to say that like painting isn't the same way. Canvases are freaking outrageous. I went to the store the other day to buy some black canvas, and I was just, they were apparently made of gold. Until I made my own.
Yeah, I had to order supplies and it was like $300 for 6 tubes of paint. So
Isn't that ridiculous? I love how you organize your paints up on the wall with your little
yeah,
binders and
done
stuff.
that at my new house because my new house is brick and it's I don't know, we haven't been able to drill into it, so I'm not sure what we're gonna do for my paints here.
Yeah.
Right now I have them dumped in a drawer, but it's hard to find one I'm looking for like that. So
Well, when I painted the glass shop, it's been about 2.5 years ago. I actually invested in a mother load of pegboard, and I have a complete wall of pegboard with everything hanging on it, and it's just absolutely wonderful.
Leia, if you could tilt your camera up a little bit, we lose you. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay. I figured you'd want to see my hands, not my face.
Well, I was losing the glass.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
yeah, this
Watching
video is
Bryan, he comes close to wandering off the edge
Yeah.
of his board there. But you're kind of all over your board there right now, so.
Yeah. He's Brian's always in the zone. How are you liking your new house, Tiffany?
It's really neat. It's very old. There's a lot of weird problems, and it's hard to find parts to fix things because
Yeah.
some of this is like 100 years old. So
Right.
but yeah, I don't have anywhere to put pegboard up in the studio because it's got windows all the way around. So
Yeah, but you've got windows all the way around.
yeah,
Yeah. Maybe you should hang string. Hang them from string.
Suspended from the ceiling on string, yeah.
I would probably walk into it.
Probably.
Oh, I
Very
would.
clumsy.
I just need a big warehouse.
Yeah, for real. I'd like to have about 500 more square feet. I could do a lot with 500 more square feet. Shops are never big enough. It doesn't matter what you have. My husband writes, and you think he wouldn't need a lot of space, but we have a library in our house that has over 10,000 books in it, and he collects so many things, and so do I, that we're running out of places to put bookshelves already. But that's a good problem to have. Sweetie. I'm sure you don't have any books, do you, Anne?
Who, me, have books?
You have books? No way.
We have bookshelves, but we don't. We have more books than bookshelves. But
Yep, the house is littered with them.
yeah,
I had one time where I was running out of bookshelf space and the refrigerator was dying. So I did not do this, but a couple of friends suggested that I just turn the old refrigerator when it died into a bookcase.
That'll do. You could put your like special editions in there.
Yeah. Keep them nice and chilled.
well, a couple of years ago, we actually bought a school library's worth of bookshelves.
Wow.
Wow.
We have so many bookshelves, but nowhere to put them.
Yeah.
And most of them are 4 foot high, double sided,
Yeah.
and at least 8 feet long.
Yeah.
So we have lots of bookshelves, and I probably have 3,000 board feet of shelves that they gave us.
Yeah. When Martin lived up in St. Paul, he actually happened to go into a Barnes and Noble when they were about to start moving, and he got some of their like really, really nice bookshelves for basically nothing. He just had to go and get them, and unfortunately, we couldn't bring them down here when he moved to Alabama. So that was sad.
Oh, you're in Alabama now?
Yeah, I've always lived in Alabama, but my husband, before he moved here, he lived in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So where in Alabama are you?
Florence.
Oh, okay.
Not
So
far.
have you come over to the fair?
The Renaissance Fair?
Yeah.
No. I should, but
Now we were talking about books. What kind of books do y'all read?
Typically, I read urban fantasy books. I have been known to delve into science fiction a good bit, especially the older stuff. I write high fantasy and children's books, but that's usually my MO. What are you into? Everything?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I'm not much on horror, but I like, fantasy, science fiction, history.
Mhm.
Like I like to see, how things are made, which is
Right.
um,
Which is why you run the art show, right?
well,
It all makes sense now.
I've always loved art. Growing up, my mother painted all the time,
Awesome.
but just never really had the talent or the drive to paint or draw.
Yeah.
And my dad was into photography,
Yeah. Well,
and
you're big into photography, aren't you?
yeah,
Um, that picture that you posted the other day was awesome. What a shot!
thank you.
That was in one of those right place, right time kind of situations, I bet.
Yes. There's a lot of knowing what to look for, but when it comes to, I prefer the nature photography. So
Right.
there's a lot of luck with that.
Have you ever talked to the bird whisperers about maybe including some of your photography in their stuff if you just so happen to have the bird that they had that month? Have you thought about that?
Well, actually, one of the first birds, it wasn't the first one they did, but one of their first birds was one of mine.
Oh, great.
Muscovy duck.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
usually
Amy's been doing that every month.
say that again, Bryan.
So my wife Amy has been doing the bird whisperer thing every month.
Yes, she has.
What's her last name?
Hearing?
Oh yeah, I've seen her stuff.
Yeah, Leah, you've done a painting or something with that, haven't you?
I usually submit either pencil sketches or like watercolors, but mine are usually goofy. I try to stick a little humor into it.
I enjoy all of the submissions they get for that because there's always something different.
Hmm. The very first one that I did was when they did the crested cockatoo, and I think it was like right around Mardi Gras. So I actually had the cockatoo like with her wings like out, and she had her crest all poofed up, and she had beads everywhere, and it was like she was showing it off. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And they all laughed about that. So I guess they're not going to kick me out for showing the Mardi Gras crested cockatoo.
No, and we had cockatoos growing up.
Oh wow.
They do like to show off.
Yeah, for real. Natalie Rogers, she does the art show at Liberty Con. She has a cockatoo named Sugar Baby, and he's a hoot, man. He's hilarious.
It's Big Ham.
They've just got so much personality.
Tiffany, what are the things you read?
I don't really read anymore because my eyesight is really bad.
Oh,
So I listen to audiobooks sometimes.
I listen to audiobooks too. When I first started doing stained glass, we would actually go to the library and get Gasp cassette tape audiobooks and check them out for a couple of weeks and listen to books while we worked on glasswork because our hands were busy. It's an awesome thing to do, especially if you don't have a whole lot of time. And I mean, I can only imagine if you have bad eyesight, that would strain your eyes so bad.
Yeah, if I read, every time I look up from the page, I just see the text like imprinted on everything.
Yeah.
So I just can't really do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of audiobooks.
You do a lot of what?
Audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
So you
Yeah,
do
I have.
listen to audiobooks, Tiffany. What do you listen to?
Um, Lately I've been listening to a lot of Ray Bradbury. Typically go for weird, dark fiction
Cool.
stuff.
Ray Bradbury was the first science fiction books I read. R is for rocket, and S is for space. I
Yeah, I've been
literally,
listening to,
I literally read my way from one end of the children's section of the library to the other, and in the very back of the children's section was the science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think
Martin.
I've been, there's that book called, was it Medicine? A Medicine for Melancholy. Yeah.
Oh, there's a book y'all all need to read. It's called High Fire.
Yeah. Who's that
It's
by?
by Owen Kofer,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who wrote Artemis Fowl.
Yeah.
It is one of the most hilarious books we've ever listened to.
Awesome. Going back to Bradbury, my husband was actually mentored by Ray Bradbury when he was just starting to write. When he was 19, he and Ray used to write letters to each other and send Halloween cards to each other and talk until 2 o'clock in the morning on long distance. Back in the day when it cost an arm and a leg to be on long distance, they'd be waxing poetic about Edgar Rice Burroughs all night long. And he's got a lot of he's still got a lot of letters that Ray sent him. So it's awesome that someone that's long gone is still remembered through all of his awesome work. Edgar Rice Burroughs is the same way.
I've heard quite a bit about how kind Bradbury was, and
Oh yeah, he had so many people that he inspired. It's just they come out of the woodwork constantly. And I mean, who knew he had so much time to devote to budding authors like that? I think Martin said that once he sent his phone number to him in a letter and said, "Call me at noon," and that's all it said. He didn't say what day or anything like that. Just call me at noon, and that's what he did. It took him about a week to get him on the phone, but he did. But he was just a great guy. What got you into the older stuff, Tiffany?
um, I think I heard one of the radio dramas
Mm-hmm.
from, it might have been like BBC radio drama or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of really odd stuff because I run out of like audiobooks only last a day or two when you work like 10 or 12 hours a day. So,
Yeah, you do.
um, yeah, my Audible credits go away really, really fast. So I start just going through YouTube and listening to whatever is like public domain or just old enough that no one is doing anything about it
Yeah.
being on there.
I really liked the movie Something Wicked This Way Comes. And that's probably my first introduction to his work.
Yeah, I don't watch very much TV, so I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it was when I was a kid. It came out.
Should I guess mine was Illustrated Man?
Yeah. I think Martin's was the Halloween tree. It's probably a lot of reasons why he's so into Halloween.
Hey, Tiffany, I'm seeing a lot of glare on the section you're working at? Is there a way maybe you can slide it or tilt the light a little differently, or?
It's just the paint is shiny.
Yeah,
So
it's just a,
it's like either the camera can see or I can see, but not both.
right. No, if you need to see what you're doing, so if it's not possible, I'm just asking.
Okay.
Brian, kind of the same with you, or a little bit of a shadow there where it's close to you.
Yeah, it's because where my light is. Sorry.
Yeah. That's the one drawback of doing it this way.
Mhm. Ryan, have you ever tried blacksmithing?
No, I've never done blacksmithing. I have a friend who's really into that.
Yeah.
But I guess I would burn my hand too much. I don't.
No kidding. I've blown glass before, and it was way too hot for me. I can imagine standing in front of a forge would be very similar.
Hey, Tiffany,
Uh-huh.
have you ever played with alcohol ink?
Um, maybe.
Leah, you've got a lot of different types of glass. Where do you find your glass?
Well, sadly, a lot of my glass comes from stained glass shops approaching me to buy them out because of how everything is going. But most of the glass that I use is manufactured in Oregon, and the distributors I use are in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Florida. But stained glass is one of those rare art forms where the majority of the supplies are actually made in the USA, believe it or not. So,
Oh,
so a lot of it is made on the Pacific West Coast. Um, there's been a lot of flux in glass manufacturers in the last couple of years, just due to the economy and everything. But things are starting to bounce back now, thankfully. One of my favorite glass distributors closed, and luckily a company called Oceanside Glass Tile actually pulled in their employees and bought out their facilities and everything, and they've begun production again. And I've never been so proud to be a glass worker in my life, because it thankfully didn't affect me too awful much. When they closed their doors, I already had like a big stock, so but there for a while it was just really, really hard to get quality glass. But I have a ton of it, that's for sure. These are the glass cases that I have. They're, 10 feet tall. So,
Wow.
yeah, and all the stuff I use for classes is over here in bins. And I actually have a bunch of tubs in my floor with little bitty pieces of glass that I will never be able to use because I just don't have time for mosaics. So I have probably like 1,000 pounds worth of glass in Rubbermaid tubs in the floor, just sitting underneath my grinder bench. I'm just waiting for someone who just really likes to do stained glass mosaics to come to my house and get it. But
Didn't you mention that you had taken on an apprentice?
I actually have 3 apprentices and 1 intern. Being a master, I'm kind of expected to teach the next, the next group. With COVID and everything, they haven't been able to work in the last 14 months, but 2 of them are actually long distance. I've got 1 intern that's in Syracuse, New York, and 1 junior apprentice that lives in Delaware. And my other 2 are here local, but with everything going on, they couldn't work. But my apprentice Nicole actually was able to work in the shop with me the weekend before last, so it was really nice to have somebody in here again with me, because it's kind of lonely work when you're down here for like 8 and 10 hours at a stretch. But I keep apprentices. I've kind of moved from the stage of trying to sell all the things to trying to teach as many people as I possibly can. Stained glass really does a number on you physically. I remember when I started working with my second teacher, she actually couldn't cut glass anymore because she had arthritis so bad in her hands. And it's just, one of those things. I want to just teach as many people as I can before I have to hang up my glass cutter.
We have about 30 minutes left.
We'll see how it goes.
Tiffany, do you make some of your own paints by any chance?
I make watercolor paint from time to time, but I don't make oil paint. I haven't done that in a while, though.
You guys can excuse me for just a second. I've got to go grab my laptop charger. I'll be right back.
What kind of things do you use to make the watercolor paints?
Just pigment and gum arabic and some clove oil as a preservative.
When you're not making your paints, Tiffany, where do you get them from?
Hang on, the train's going by. Do you think he's gonna blow his whistle? Here he goes. I usually buy them from Jerry's Garden Drama. I used to go to the Dick Wood store that's pretty close to my house before the pandemic, but I haven't been back there in probably like a year and a half or more now. So I just order everything online now. It's probably better though, because I can actually look at what I have and make sure I don't order the same paint that I already had. So.
Do you have a preferred medium that you to work in?
It's been oils for a while now. I used to work in watercolors a lot too, but I haven't done that in, it's probably been about a year now because I got too much work for oil painting. So
When you say too much work for oil painting, how do you determine what medium to use, or does your client have a preference?
the clients specified oil paint. So I'm working on a tarot deck right now that is all oil paint. So that is going to be a couple of years worth of oil painting.
Wow, that's quite
Yeah.
a commission.
Yeah. It's good practice though. I feel like I'm learning a lot more having to do it every single day than when I can just switch back and forth and not have to paint every single day. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. On the downside, I'm probably going to want to repaint like half of the pictures by the time I get to the end, but oh well.
Yeah, I know of one or two artists that have gone back and kind of, I don't want to say retouch or repaint older paintings. Does that happen with you?
Sometimes I want to, but it gets boring to do that. So I usually don't, but I'm kind of thinking about doing that with some pieces I made in 2019.
So Leah, what you're doing now is soldering, is that right?
Yes, I am. I'm tinning this very base piece, and then I'm going to assemble the sides around it. So I'm just laying down a really thin layer of solder to kind of connect it to as I'm tacking it all together.
Uh-huh.
Here we go. And the stuff that I'm brushing onto it is flux. It's an acid that allows the metal to adhere to the copper. Also a gel and very sleek.
Brian, do you get a fair amount of commissions, or do you just
Not too many. Mainly when I I do custom work at the fairs. When I have a booth, people come up and they'll ask for certain beading, certain colors to match dresses, stuff like that. But I've only done a few, really in-house commissions.
okay? So you worked some of the Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, I used to do Tennessee, but my main one is Alabama and Florence.
Yeah, one of the ones he does is actually in the town where I live. That's what he was talking about earlier.
I've been doing that one for 20 years.
Yeah. The one cool thing about that one is that the last couple of years they've actually had a tent for authors to set up because it's right across the street from the Florence Library. So that actually is kind of nice because especially in outdoor spaces like that, paper is very fragile. So are prints and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Sure, it's nice. What year did you start doing the fair in Florence, Brian? Do you remember?
97, 98.
Oh, really? That was my first year too. 97. I worked at Stained Glass Artistry at the time, which was incidentally about 2 blocks away. That's cool. Was it the next year that the tornadoes came and?
Oh, I don't remember, but I did not have a good tent the first year. The tent, my tent fell apart.
Oh no.
And then I had to go and get I didn't even get a pop-up. It was just
Like a canopy.
a yard shade. we popped, and of course it didn't have a rain
Right.
sleeve or anything. But I replaced that as quick as possible.
Did. One of those years, seems like the whole entire weekend we were under tornado watches and warnings, and that's just not a good time to have glass billowing around. I remember that year when we got done with the fair, I had to fix more glass than we sold because of things falling and breaking from all the wind.
Wind, yeah. So I went from a little 10 by 10 to a 20 by 10,
Yeah.
and it made a big difference as far as display and everything.
Yeah.
But I remember the year that it was so cold, the
Yeah.
last weekend of October, that the seamstress who sold capes actually sold out before the fair started
Because
from all
everybody was so cold.
from all the vendors buying capes.
That's awesome. Well, she had a good year.
It looks like we have 5 minutes left. And it looks like some of these will not be completely finished within the time period, but you've been able to watch the creative process.
Yep.
And you will be able to see the finished product. And all 3 of these pieces will be available on our Discord in the charity auction section. Please look for them there. I've been enjoying this, and I absolutely love every single one of these pieces so far. So as we close out, if each one of you wants to, maybe say a little bit and where we can find your shops on the internets.
Sure. I'm Leia Powell. You can find me on Etsy. It's etsy.com/shop geeky stained glass, all one word. My Facebook page is Wildcat Mountain Artistry. That's where I'll be.
I'm Tiffany Toland-Scott. You can find me at spellboundbrush.com.
And I'm Bryan Jones, and you can find me at whitebearfantasies.com.
And I wish to
Plus,
thank all
we're all
3.
going to be in the art show, right?
Yes. Thank you, Bryan. Yes, and all 3 of these fantastic artists will have shops or storefronts on in our Eventney marketplace.
We will. We're all doing panels too, right, Ann?
Now that I'm not sure about.
No, I'm not doing a panel this year because most of mine are hands-on workshops.
I did a workshop, recorded one with Michael this weekend. How is that one going to be aired? How's that going to work exactly?
The programming schedule will be available on Eventney, and each programming event has a link. You just click on it, and it'll take you right to the video.
Awesome.
Hi, I am Michael Birchfield, an IT director for LibertyCon 33, here to show you the finished products of the Charity Art Jam. First, we start off with Leia Powell's glass box creation, made from stained glass. Next, we move on to Bryan Jones' four-eyed alien wearing a mask with red COVID floating around it, made with metal and beads. And finally, Tiffany Toland-Scott's oil painting of View from the Depths, which is a mask floating in the ocean with tentacles around it. The art show is in the Eventney Marketplace. Please come by frequently and often to see this and more. Drop questions on the Discord and the art show channel to get them answered. We truly hope you enjoyed the Charity Art Jam and hope you enjoy the rest of LibertyCon 33.